Good evening, EV Council. My name is Nicole Appenzeller, and I'm a Senior Clean Transportation Specialist at the San Francisco Environment Department. I serve as the city's electric vehicle ombudsperson, and my mission is to increase public charging access in San Francisco. Today, I'm excited to provide an overview of our California Energy Commission fast charging plaza and the associated community outreach work. This project was developed in response to an existing challenge that San Francisco and a lot of other cities are experiencing. The communities that are impacted by the highest rates of pollution are being left behind as the electric vehicle adoption and EV charging expands. EV charging service providers are not prioritizing these communities for new charging projects as EV adoption rates are typically lower in these areas. So providers see less opportunities for charging use and revenue. The problem is that without these public chargers, drivers may not feel ready to convert to electric vehicles, and those adoption rates may not increase. One such community in San Francisco is Bayview Hunters Point. Bayview Hunters Point has some of the highest pollution ratings in the city. Historically, the site of industrial land uses, poor air quality in Bayview Hunters Point is exacerbated by freeway proximity and the neighborhood's reliance on vehicles due to limited public transit. There's little available charging to serve residents, and while the map indicates that there are a couple of EV charging sites, we found in recent outreach that these sites are not operational or they are behind closed gates and do not provide public access 24 hours a day. Given this existing challenge, our department looked for funding to bring charging to underserved areas like Bayview Hunters Point. We applied for and were successfully awarded funding from the California Energy Commission to conduct community outreach to select and install a new community-supported electric vehicle fast charging plaza. A fast charging plaza is a location that has multiple fast chargers, and for this grant, we received funding for 8 chargers. SFE worked with 3 partners on this project. N2 Action is a local community-based organization. It is the community engagement lead. N2 Action organized, promoted, and hosted community meetings to collect community feedback and identify a list of potential sites that the community supported. Strategies 360, a research and communications firm, was the survey lead and conducted a community survey to collect input on electric vehicles, chargers, and site preferences. Finally, EVgo, a national EV charging service provider, is the charging station lead. EVgo evaluated potential sites, determined if sites met technical requirements, and spoke to property owners to help choose a final site. And then ultimately, EVgo installed the final project that was selected. The first outreach that we conducted was the community survey. The purpose of the survey was to collect community input on electric vehicles, charging, traffic, and considerations for a new charging site. Strategies 360 developed a survey with inputs from our department and Into Action. In February 2024, 400 residents in Southeast San Francisco were surveyed, including 141 Bayview Hunters Point residents. The survey was conducted via landline, cell phone, and online via text message invites. I'll focus today's presentation on the survey results for Bayview Hunters Point respondents only. Respondents represented a variety of age groups and ethnicities. The survey found that car ownership is high in Bayview Hunters Point, with 88% of respondents owning or leasing at least one car. When asked, how likely is it that your next car will be an electric or plug-in hybrid car, almost half of respondents said that it was likely, with 37% saying it was unlikely and 14% being unsure. We found that the main reason respondents would consider an EV is to save money on gas and vehicle maintenance. The second most popular reason was to reduce vehicle emissions and pollutions, and these results can help inform our future outreach messaging. We also wanted to understand what the hesitations were to get an electric vehicle. The number one hesitation was that the lack of reliable public charging stations. Limited driving range, time, and hassle of charging, as well as upfront costs were also significant hesitations. Lastly, we asked residents what their preferences were for future public charging sites. Residents thought it would be best to install chargers in commercial areas, such as on 3rd Street, and preferred having charging stations in shopping centers, gas stations, and grocery stores. Residents also highlighted that they want to feel safe while charging. They want spots to be well lit to prevent vandalism, and they want to avoid displacing too many parking spots. The survey results helped the project team plan the agenda for the community meetings and were considered as we developed the final list of candidates for the new charging site. After the survey was completed, N2 Action organized 3 community meetings in the spring of 2024. Meetings were held at the Southeast Community Center, Bayview Opera House, and True Hope Church. During the community meetings, our department in N2 Action provided historical context on neighborhood emissions, information on electric vehicle benefits and incentives, and collected feedback on where community members would like to see a future public EV charging station. Attendees used maps of the neighborhood to highlight their favorite sites. $25 stipends and dinner were offered to all residents for their participation. Several community meeting participants were unaware of the economic benefits of EV ownership, such as lower fuel and maintenance costs, the available incentives to reduce the upfront cost of EVs, and also shared misconceptions around the environmental impact of EVs, which illustrated the need for more engagement and education on EVs. Using the community feedback collected, SFE developed a list of community-supported charging sites and asked EVgo to assess the sites. For sites to be feasible for the project, they needed to meet technical requirements like having sufficient electrical capacity, they needed to be accessible to the public 24/7, be large enough to fit multiple chargers, and receive approval from the property owner. Community members showed high interest in having public charging at business and shopping centers, parks, community centers, places of worship, and parking lots. While funding is limited for this project, SFE plans to use this list of community supported sites to apply for future funding, and we've already applied for state funds for a few of these sites. Based on all of these factors, we identified Bayview Plaza at 3801 3rd Street as the site for the new fast charging plaza. The site includes 6 new public fast chargers, including 2 ADA accessible spots. This shopping center has a grocery store, bank, coffee shop, and other businesses that make it a popular destination. And since grant funding was only available for 8 total chargers, and this site could only fit 6, we are currently reviewing another site to fund 2 additional fast chargers there. We launched a project webpage in November 2024 outlining the project process and announcing the site. Residents could sign up through the webpage to receive project updates or submit their feedback, and site construction began in February 2024. February 2025. And the site opened this July with a ribbon cutting ceremony. Mayor Lurie participated with speakers from the Marie Harrison Community Foundation, EVgo, our environment department, and the state's government, the state's GoBiz. SFE is currently exploring funding opportunities to continue community engagement in Bayview, Hunters Point, and other San Francisco underserved neighborhoods so that we can collect more information on post-installation feedback, new potential charger sites in the community, and do further engagement on electric vehicle benefits and incentives. During this process, we also learned several lessons that will help shape our future community engagement. One of the biggest lessons we learned was the importance of properly compensating participants and partners for their time. While we had planned to offer stipends for community meeting participants, navigating our city's policies around payments was more challenging than I expected. I had to quickly become familiar with the rules on gift cards and other payment methods, ultimately finding that digital payments via PayPal, Cash App, and Venmo, or checks were the only allowable options. However, our partner N2 Action pointed out that those digital payments weren't the most accessible options for community members. In hindsight, I wish we would have had more time to explore additional ways to streamline and simplify the process to issue stipends. Another key takeaway was the importance of nurturing relationships with our partners after the project ends and compensating them for additional time. When our partner N2 Action completed their work and our contract ended, we faced a dilemma. We wanted them to stay involved in all these post-project events and opportunities, but we were sensitive about asking for their time without compensation. If I were to do this over again, I'd budget for some post-project engagement so we could fund their staff and make sure that our community-based partners were helping at ribbon cuttings and media interviews and having the opportunity to showcase themselves there. Keeping partners engaged in the long term strengthens those relationships and keeps momentum going. We also learned how essential it is to be mindful of the existing community dynamics, including past impacts and current priorities. Our partner Into Action, along with our Environment Department's outreach team, helped us understand the Bayview Hunters Point community's unique needs and tensions. Recognizing the historical challenges in these areas was really important, so we made sure to begin each meeting by acknowledging these impacts. We also heard clear feedback from community members that they would prefer funding to be directed toward other services like transit and public safety. So we adjusted our messaging to clarify the specific uses of these funds and connected residents to additional resources for their other needs. Lastly, we realized the importance of being flexible and responsive throughout the engagement process. We adapted our community meetings and adapted through each community meeting based on feedback and the unique needs of the venue. For example, after hearing many questions about electric vehicle benefits at our first meeting, we dedicated a standalone presentation to EV incentives in subsequent meetings. The mapping exercise also proved to be very popular, so we made sure to allocate more time and print additional maps for future meetings. And in our final session, we even added an impromptu myth-busting question and answer session on electric vehicles when we saw strong interest in that topic. Thank you for your time today. Please see my contact information below and reach out with any questions. For more information on this project, please visit the project webpage linked here. Thank you again for having me.